93. This is the Mon I Shall Renew from IShallRenew.com. Once again. So in this particular segment or episode or live stream, I want to speak about cyber wars and internet battles. Because we are in the age of Aquarius, this is why we see this at an all-time high. In other words, that's why you see, most rappers beef through the internet. Then you have beef, between influencers, content creators. It's all over the place, right? And you also have a lot of cyber warfare going on. A lot of people are being hacked, especially because of what's happening in Ukraine. So there's a lot of cyber warfare going on, a lot of stealing of information, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of beefing going on. And I just want to approach these scenarios from a alternative perspective. As someone who has been creating content essentially for 10 years now, I guess I can speak from a perspective of, what it's like to be in the field and why these things occur. And also why they don't occur, if they don't occur, or haven't occurred. So essentially from this perspective, because I've been doing a lot of personal research and experiments. And what I mean by personal research and experience or experiments is I realize that I am blackballed from YouTube. In other words, there's a reason why, I don't do too many views. It's not because of the content. It's not because I guess what I'm saying or what I'm not saying. It's simply because it's just cyber warfare. Why would YouTube want to promote a person like me if I'm actually encouraging people to better themselves? Why would they promote me? So from that perspective, I understand. It's easier to promote beef. It's easier to promote warfare. If it's easier to promote when the world is going to hell versus this is the time for, the Aquarians to rise up in power. So of course, one agenda equals more money and another agenda actually equals change. So from that perspective, I understand. So I know I be complaining sometimes, about how hard it is to not necessarily be a YouTuber, but to do it from my perspective. Because I know if I was doing something else, and honestly, it ain't nothing stopping me from doing that either. So it ain't even that I can't do it. I just have to start another channel. So I'm sure, like, if I started another channel and I just did content creation without actually speaking about the things I speak on, I probably wouldn't be blackballed. The views probably would be out the roof, right? It's just because of the nature of the content itself that YouTube is just simply not going to push this. It's not going to essentially make them any money if I'm telling you how to better yourself, how to disconnect from the matrix, and how to empower yourself within the matrix. That's not necessarily going to make YouTube any money. Versus if I come on here complaining about YouTube and that's going to get more clicks, YouTube doesn't care because it's just going to make them more money. Why they care if a YouTuber is complaining about YouTube? And what I've also seen is when I do make videos like that, or when other people make videos like that, it tends to get more views. So essentially, the more times I come on here complaining about what's going on, that content is more likely to be pushed versus me empowering people to be self-created and to deify themselves. So from a business perspective, I completely understand why certain content is pushed and why certain content is not, right? So I get the business part of it. And I also understand the experimentation. What I mean by that is, I've done other types of content or other forms of content, meaning I've done pornography, right? I have porn on porn sites. I don't promote it because I'm not intertwining both of those worlds. They remain separate. I did it as an experimentation, just to prove that what I'm saying is factual. What I mean by that is, I have pornographic content that has tens of thousands of views, and the content isn't me having sex with a woman. It's me essentially just masturbating, and I did it as an experimentation. Let me upload a video of me masturbating because that's what people want to see. There's always going to be essentially views if you're producing pornography. So we see that with the OnlyFans. If you're putting out pornography, it's going to be people that want to see it. It just is what it is. Like the audience is already there. Versus you actually having to build up an audience. Like essentially, whenever you're doing, that's why they say sex sells, because the audience is already there. Versus you coming out with something authentic and something original, you have to essentially create the audience because they don't know it exists as of yet until you make it known. All right. So, saying this to say, as much as I don't like the YouTube blackballing, as much as I feel like I'm professional as I can possibly be, I'm not up here cussing up a storm. I'm not up here beefing with people. I'm not up here calling people out their names. I'm not doing any of these things, right? Trying to keep things professional. But as soon as I remove that curtain, as soon as I remove trying to be professional and I do things more tantric or more pornographic, now there's no resistance. I get absolutely no resistance from that. However, when I come over here, and try to be educational, and trying to move or navigate from the higher self, I get all the resistance in the world. And I just have observed this. That's why I haven't been able to be consistent with the YouTube. I've been doing YouTube for I don't know how long at this point. But every time I make an intention to be consistent, okay, I'm about to upload every day, I'm putting out content every day, it's as if the world conspires to slow that down. But when I made the intention, all right, I'm about to show my fucking dick, now all of a sudden, there is absolutely no resistance. It's being pushed all over the place to the point where tens of thousands of people have seen it. And of course, my face isn't in it, so you're not going to be able to see my face. Obviously, there is no face. You just see a masturbating dick, right? So if you don't know it's me, then you're not going to know it's me, right? But when I do something like that, again, there is no blackball. There's no moving mountains. There's no I have to perform miracles. I have to go all the way over here or over here to do content. I don't need to do any of that. It just gets pushed out like content should be pushed out. Then the amount of people that see it is the amount of people that see it. So I'm saying this to say I've been putting in the experimentation because I can feel that I'm blackballed all day. But if it's only happening with one website, I can't really say, okay, well, this is just not what I should be doing. Well, I shouldn't be on the internet or I shouldn't be making content. It just a certain type of content, right? So if I put out tantric content, for example, no issues, right? And give me 1 second here. So if I put out tantric content, no resistance. But when I try to educate, when I try to empower, when I try to elevate and be constructive, anything in that world, again, now it seems as if everybody and everything in the world wants to materialize, and now I got all this extra shit happening, which y'all see it. Just go back and look at my content. How much of my content is, if I'm live streaming, it's always a million and one things going on. There's always a distraction. And I'm like, none of this was happening before I went live. Then as soon as I go live, now all of a sudden things start moving in ways that it wasn't moving before. But again, that's only when I try to uplift. But when I move in the opposite direction, now all of a sudden it's like now it's normal. Like I get the same push that everybody else gets. It's basically not biased. However, when I make this type of content, it becomes more biased. It gets flagged by YouTube and it gets slowed down. So it's no longer unbiased, it's no longer natural. So what I'm saying here is I don't get a normal push with YouTube. Everybody already knows it. That's nothing new. They actually slow down my growth. How do I know this? Again, just look at the numbers. The numbers have been the same. It's like I think in like a year, I probably only gained like 10 subscribers or something in like an entire year. You got people doing that in a day. You got people doing that in hours. And it's not because YouTube shows and favoritism. It's just that, when people are exposed to your content, it's not hard to, hit the subscribe button or hit the like button. That's just what people do normally. However, I understand that their content is not the type of content that I put out. It tends to be more entertaining. It tends to be more, as we want to call, ratchet. It tends to be more uncivilized. So YouTube has no problem pushing out that content, and this content, is put it into people's faces so that people can see what's going on. So what I have observed is the only time I get that push, which is just regular, I'm not asking for anything extracurricular. The only time I get a non-biased push is when I'm showing my genitals, or I gotta take off my shirt, or I gotta, just go into a straight demon mode, just cussing and fussing and doing all this extra shit, just being a full-blown clown, or as we like to call entertainer. I gotta go above and beyond just to essentially get a message out there. So even if the video is positive, I still had to put in some, you can say, some demonic tones within the content for it to even be noticed. However, this is due to cyber warfare. Because as I'm saying, I can think that, okay, they have like my IP address, and anything that's uploaded from this IP address is just getting slowed down. It was times that I thought like that. Because I'm like, damn, every time I upload something on social media, it's like they, you know, take their sweet time getting it to people. So it don't matter if it's Instagram, it don't matter if it's TikTok, it don't matter if it's Twitter. It's like, anytime I try to push anything that I'm doing, it's always, super slow. It doesn't seem organic. It doesn't seem natural. It seems as if somebody is hitting a button. And essentially the only people that know is the people that already knew. So essentially you see the people that come, and consume the content. It's people that already know I exist. But for the people that don't know I exist, it's super hard to find even who I am. Like you're probably not going to type in my name and my videos pop up. That's the first thing you see. You're probably going to see something that's not even related to anything I do. And even though you typed in my name. So I know these factors to be true. Then you come to the realization, like, all right, well, YouTube has an agenda. The internet has an agenda. This is what cyber warfare is. And this has been happening for a very long time. And I'm sure it's not going to change anytime soon. What has to change then is me. So I'm not saying I'm going to switch the content. I just realized that's why you got to make multiple channels. I may need to make 8 different channels. Like one channel is specifically ASMR, another channel is like specifically something else. One other channel is specifically dealing with a certain type of content, so on and so forth. So what I realize is I actually will probably be more successful breaking it up in that way by separating what I do instead of trying to put everything into this one channel that YouTube has already flagged. It would be better just to make multiple new channels and then just navigate them as such. Because I have multiple channels and I upload to different types of channels. And again, I don't get no resistance. So it's just really this channel then. I'm like, it's the resistance. Again, I could take it personal, but I came to the realization it's not personal. So yes, somebody may have hit the black button on my channel, but they're not going to just keep hitting the black button just because I make another channel. They're just simply like, that's why people have multiple channels. So I understand that now. So that's why I no longer take it personally. It becomes a matter of I just have to be very selective about the type of content that I put on this channel. But that's why I also have a website. So for the content that I feel is a little bit, I'm not going to say it's too extreme, but content that I know is not going to get any push, that's essentially for the website. It's not that the content isn't valuable, it's just not going to be pushed by YouTube because it doesn't fit into their agenda. So essentially, unless I sign up to be a part of the YouTube agenda, then I'm not expecting to get any push when it doesn't fit within the bounds of what YouTube wants to promote. So instead of, going to war with YouTube about it, it just becomes a matter of YouTube really doesn't have any competitors, right? Because a lot of these other video platforms, like a Rumble or a Minds, there's many different other ones. They don't have the same, like BitChute. They don't have the same monetization opportunities as YouTube. So that's why a lot of people stay on YouTube regardless of how they're being treated. Again, I'm not the only one. A lot of people are not treated fairly, but they keep going in because they really don't have that many options. So we essentially just deal with the madness. The same thing like somebody going to work and they don't necessarily like their boss, but they keep showing up because they know they have responsibilities and obligations. So what I'm saying here is, after my experimentations, I realized that like the anger that I may have had towards YouTube or the anger I may have had towards the internet because I feel like I'm being, personally selected to not be able to reach certain chambers. I'm like, yeah, maybe so. Like even if YouTube holds me back, but I'm able to release pornography, then I'm able to, let's just say I go viral off of porn because that was really what I was supposed to go viral off of. It was never meant for me to go viral in this format. If that's actually the path, so be it. Because at the end of the day, why would I resist my own path? So again, this is more so just me reflecting on. I'm like, yeah, I've been dealing with YouTube like 10 years now. In this particular channel, I've been uploading longer than that, but this particular channel. So when I look at the journey of this channel, and I look at the trajectory, there we go, and I realize, okay, they're purposely slowing down the growth. to the point where I can't even, my content is not going into the eyes of new subscribers. It's only the people that already know who I am. If I want to reach anybody new in particular, it's going to have to come from a different channel or a different website or a different type of content altogether. So instead of me focusing on, well, YouTube is doing this or not doing this, or should be doing this or shouldn't be doing this, it's just simply switching up the content. So that's basically what it is. Cyber warfare. If you don't fit within the agenda that YouTube is being pushed, then YouTube is not going to push it. And what they do is they try to bleed you out. They try to squeeze you. Because if you're not getting paid for your content, as they say, if it don't make money, if it don't make sense. So a lot of people stop making YouTube because YouTube is not supporting them like YouTube should be supporting them. So that's why you have a lot of content creators that stop, or they do it every now and then because, again, it's not supporting their responsibilities. And that's what YouTube wants to do. If YouTube is slowing down your growth, then of course that's going to slow down your money. And if that slows down your money, that forces you to have to do other things to compensate for those losses. And eventually, if the losses keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you may all together have to do something else. And that's essentially what YouTube wants you to do if they bleed you out. They want you to stop creating content and then do something else. And then all of a sudden, then you get the push. And again, that's why a lot of people switch up their content. There's been many channels on here that started off a certain way, but then they moved in a different direction. They moved in a different direction because they realize that when I make a certain type of content, YouTube actually pushes me. So for example, I made, like, if I just make, let's just say, something completely ignorant, and I just put this on this channel, if I make content that's not even within this realm of, let's just say, metaphysics, if I do something like this completely ignorant, 9 times out of 10, that content is going to be pushed. 9 times out of 10, like, that's going to get way more views than I'm used to getting because it's outside of this world. And it's actually within the agenda of YouTube, which is just ignorance. YouTube will forever promote the ignorance, will forever promote the bullshit. So if I start making that type of content and now all of a sudden I'm getting the views that I should have been getting, then it's like, this is what YouTube does. This is what the internet does. The internet tries to get you to adjust to the agendas that it is being pushed because, again, then they're going to hit your pockets in a good way. Okay, you're pushing our agenda, so now you're going to get the subscribers, now you're going to get the views, now you're going to get the money because now you're pushing our agenda. And if you're not pushing the agenda, then we're not going to support you. That's just basically what it comes down to. And again, business is business. So it is what it is. That essentially goes for any corporation, any channel. So I'm not putting it in YouTube like YouTube is the only one that does this. This is just essentially business. So again, that's why I had to do the experimentation on my head. If I come out dick swinging, and now I'm doing more views than I ever done before, I just really have to reconsider my own position. Like, am I too good? Do I feel like I'm too divine or too supreme to even move in that direction? Because I feel like I've done all this work and that will destroy this work? Or do I realize that that was the path in the first place? And this, again, this is more so charity. Meaning if I take the energy of, I don't want anything from this channel, I just want to put out content and assist the people that want to be assisted, and I'm not really trying to extract any resources from the channel, then it would be all good. There would be no complaints. Because I wouldn't care how many views I get, wouldn't care about the subscribers, wouldn't care about the money, because that's not why I'm doing it. However, when you are trying to make a YouTube career, you are focused on those things because, again, you want to be successful at what you do. However, when you are being held back, not because you are doing anything wrong, because you don't fit within the agenda, now you have to switch up the content and then make more extreme or more graphic content to balance out the scales. So that's essentially what conclusion I arrived at. It's very interesting because I'm like, I do a conscious video and I get 100 views. But again, when I make a video about me dick swinging, me masturbating, now that gets tens of thousands of views. And now I will feel like, me speaking, this is actually more effective than me just playing with my balls. In my mind, this is more educational, this is more useful. But according to the algorithm, according to the internet, according to the Aquarian energy, they actually prefer the tantric energy, which is why they prefer the bullshit and the ignorance, because that's all within the realm of tantra, honestly, the law of reversal. So from that perspective, I'm like, it actually makes sense. So that's why I'm making a video. I'm like, it's actually, now that I thought about it a little bit more, I'm like, it actually makes sense. So instead of me feeling some type of way as to why I'm not being pushed, it's just really time to just take the fucking clothes off, right? Because if that's what pays the bills, it is what it is. I'm not here to judge anybody's life. And essentially, that's what being tantric, what am I talking about? Tantric. That's what it means to be tantric. Meaning you're not afraid to show forth your sexual currency. That's what it really comes down to. Especially when you're doing it, again, it's not just the sexual act, it's tantric, which means you're adding the spirit element into a cardinal act. That's the whole point. You are adding a spiritual element into what everybody does anyway, but they don't add the spirit element to it. So when you add the spirit element into the sexual currency, now it becomes tantric, and that's how a person can achieve enlightenment through the sexual experience. Whereas everybody else is just doing it, busting a nut and just going to sleep. Then you are able to extract divine wisdom because you applied the spirituality into the cardinal act. So if it's in my cards, like that's what I'm really supposed to be showing people. This is how you spiritualize cardinal acts instead of me trying to guide people and navigate people through the occult, then so be it. So I will continue to experiment. So I'm not saying this like I'm just going to stop making content. I'm going to keep making content. I'm still going to overload this channel, but I'm going to diversify as well. Because again, there's no point in complaining about this stuff when there's so many different opportunities, but the only thing that's holding me back is my own consciousness. Basically, should I be doing that or should I be doing this? If I remove that, then it's not about whether I should be doing this or that. I should be doing them both. So that's basically the conclusion that I have arrived at. It's not about me choosing should I do this or that. It's about me doing both. Because honestly, if I am doing both, I really don't have any complaints about YouTube. Because it wouldn't concern me with how many people are seeing it, how many people are not seeing it, how many people like and dislike and comment. It's like none of that matters because the responsibilities are already taken care of. Versus, you're trying to extract all this extra stuff because you're trying to fulfill other obligations when that should have never been the case. So these are just my conclusions, where I just have to redirect my currency so that I can actually give this channel the type of energy I should be giving it instead of trying to extract anything from it. I need to empower the channel instead of trying to extract from the channel. Instead of trying to use it like attract new clients and new customers and all that, trying to get people to join the website. I'm like, it ain't even about none of that. Let people do that on their own time. It's just for me to give on this particular platform and just leave everything else. To give, and whatever happens from that giving is whatever happens, and just be at peace with it. So when it comes to actually extracting, leave it to the pornography, leave it to other avenues, so that I can be fulfilled when I come to you and not be empty trying to gain something because I'm already full. So this is more so just, some analysis that I've come to the realization of and that I will be applying, and hopefully that will actually benefit the people that actually do consume this channel. That I can give more of myself instead of, trying to do this and do that and just getting overwhelmed and only doing this and like, it's over with for all that. It's time to be truly tantric and live it out instead of just speaking about it. And that's the direction I'm going to go in. So with that, I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.